Hey guys, doing an update here on the chains in Neltharus. Now, Blizzard changed something last week where they made it so that the chains no longer deal any damage to players. That includes the person holding the chain and any surrounding players. So, well, what happened before is you would pick up the chain, and when it exploded as you ran it through the mobs, it would actually deal a huge chunk of damage to yourself and any surrounding players. So, it was very dangerous to do this strategy, actually, even though it was very much a time save. It often got a lot of people killed, got yourself killed, and it was hard to do. Well, now with the change, it's really there's no reason you shouldn't be using these chains because there's no risk whatsoever to using them. So people are kind of figuring out as the weeks go by what the best pulls are to do with these chains are. Now, as you see here, we've killed the first pack already, and we're pulling the second pack here, all this trash in the boss room, and we're pulling it out to this chain. And so we talked about this beforehand in this group I was in, that we would use 2 chains on the first pull and 3 chains on this next pull. And you see the mini boss there just died as well. And do keep in mind that once you pick up the chain, you get a 3-minute debuff where you cannot pick up another one. So that's why we plan to use 2 on the first one and 3 on the second one, because you can't pick up the same person can't pick up a chain twice in a row. Be aware that pulling all of these trash mobs is still a very dangerous endeavor, and especially these hunters that jump to random players. They put a bleed on them and does quite a lot of physical damage, actually. So, your healer needs to be prepared, and your party definitely needs to be prepared to take a lot of damage here. Use your personal cooldowns, and all you have to do is kind of survive until the chains go off, and it really kills all the trash for you, or at the very least, kind of stuns everything once you group it up. But you do need to, be ready for the amount of damage that's going to come out here. I guess, to explain really how the chain works, how it's coded and everything, is that it searches for an eligible target, and there's not all the mobs in this dungeon are eligible targets to be exploded upon. For example, I don't think the birds are eligible. I think it's only the kind of the humanoid creatures. But we'll see in a second here in the next clip how we pull uneligible mobs onto eligible mobs for chain explosion, and it actually splashes the chain damage as well as the stun onto them. So notice here how we pull this pack towards the end of the dungeon, this giant phoenix, and we're pulling it backwards, and we sent the hunter Riddick into the room over here to pull some of the hunters from the Chargath area out. And what we're going to do is group everything up onto this chain here and use the splash damage from the chain to deal, a lot of damage to the Phoenix here, which otherwise is an uneligible mob. I'm pretty sure the 2, like the Lava Mancers next to him, are also not eligible because they're giant, they're elite mobs, right? They can't be CC'd or anything. So, last thing to note here for rooting purposes is that when you start the dungeon, I've seen groups do this recently, is that you go to the right first instead of the left where people normally go towards the mammoth. You go to the right and do this massive chain pull as your first pull, and you have all 5 players just pull the chain and blow up the trash. And the reason you would want to do this is because you have the chain debuff, right? The 3-minute debuff where you can't pick up another chain. So to do it at the start of the dungeon is, an efficient thing to do. You get your debuff on cooldown, then you head to the other side, kill the mammoth, then you come back and your chains are ready again to be used on the next pull. So again, similar to the previous clip in this area, we discussed beforehand that 2 people would use the chains here and 3 people would use the chains later. And you'll see we kind of split the pulls up into 2. We kind of do this first area, this first room on top of this chain, and then the next chains are over there. We pull the boss room out, pull all the trash from the boss room out, and blow it up on that chain. Final note here is that something you need to be careful of is that these Kalashi hunters will jump around, right? They'll jump to players, and what can happen is if you're pulling the chain and the hunter jumps to you, it will actually proc your chain too early. So something good to do is when you group everything up, drop a stun on them, make sure everything's CC'd, and then run the chain through it before, letting the mobs jump all over the place. All right, so any questions? As always, please let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, found it helpful, please subscribe and leave a like. I always appreciate your support. Thank you, guys.